Okay, so in today's video, I'm going to be showing you how I made this Marvel Legends Venom Let There Be Carnage action figure. We're going to go through, I need to start filming these intros before I finish, but I don't have the Kro to show off, but in the next clip you'll see it. This is a pretty quick process. It took me months because I kind of went off and on trying to finish this up, but I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. Before I start, if you want this head sculpt, it's on my CG trader. I'll put the link in the bio, and hope you enjoy the video. Let's go ahead and get started. So today we're going to be looking at this Kro figure. We're going to try to turn this guy into Carnage. You can see the first thing I did was swap out the feet. Here's the Venom from the Null Venom 2-pack. I took the feet off of that and I ordered him some new ones without the toes. And so I just put them on here. Here's what the old feet looked like. They're kind of bulky and webby and really just didn't look anything like how Carnage's feet should look. Next, I went ahead and cut these off the back. Carnage has tendrils too, but these were going down. They were too big. I didn't like them. You can see the cuts weren't perfect, but the feet still articulate pretty well. They go back and forward. Later on in the video, I kind of cut the ankles up a little bit to have them articulate a little bit more smoothly, but right here you can see they work out fine. Here he is with the movie Venom, just a quick size comparison before we start. And they have the same feet, as you can tell. Next part of this custom, I'm going to add these down here. I'm going to cut these tendrils off and add them down to the bottom. So here's the process of me just cutting it off. I don't really cut them here, I just kind of show. I just snip them as close as I can to the body. And I want to save as much material as possible so I can have something to glue to later. Here he is with all the tendrils snipped off. You can see I went ahead and sanded and cut the edges. I just snipped them, and then I took this X-Acto knife and cut as close as I could to the body and sanded that down. Here's the tendrils I had left over. I'm just going to glue those into any spots I see with gaps that can fit them on the body. So I glued on these tendrils that were up here. I sanded those areas down. I mean, they're not really going to be noticeable after everything's said and done. So I just kind of glued these into the areas where there's like gaps or like deep points where I could kind of seat them in there, and then just sanded them down to try to be flush. I did that on a few spots. This one, these arm pieces, and then on the thighs I did one on the back, one on the side, and over here, side, back. And then these on the calves did not want to stick. I think these came from the tendrils that are on the back. I just kind of cut these top parts off, so it was connected back there, and I just cut this top part off and used that on these side pieces. And I had to melt these on there with the soldering iron. So I glued them on there, they wouldn't stick, so I melted them on there. I mean, they're on there pretty good. And all of these don't really mess with articulation much. I'm trying to think of what head to use. So I grabbed a bunch of Venoms and Carnages to kind of test it out. First off, let's see if this head will fit on there. Oh no, that's way too small. That one won't work. So let's try this from the new Venom Null pack. That one did not go on there. That one's pretty good. If you had this extra head and you weren't planning on using it, and then the extra movie head without the tongue, that one didn't really pop. It's kind of, I mean, it's fine if you had him looking down, but looking up, it's kind of like at a weird angle. That one sounds good. Don't like that one as much. It's a little bit bigger. Not bad. So far, I think your best bet would be this one. Not that one. This one. Let's try this movie head. Open. That one's not bad. That one's better. The jaw comes down further, so it looks more proportional. So these two are good. Regular Carnage head. That's way too tiny. Yeah, that one's way too small. This from the Ben Reilly Spider-Man. It had the custom hands and head, or the extra hands and head. Oh. A little bit better, but still pretty bad. If you wanted to make this custom and not spend that much money, you could get the knockoff movie Venom off like AliExpress, and it would have the feet and the head. It would have this head and the regular head. So I think if you want to get this as cheap and easy as possible and make this custom, I think that would be the way to go. Probably end up making my own movie Carnage head. But I mean, this was just kind of the show. If you wanted to use something like these. I'm gonna take, oh yeah, I forgot to say, I melted the back too. I mean, there was big gaps and stuff. I'm gonna prime this guy and then see where I need to sand still. Okay, so as you can see, I went ahead and primed him all gray. And where the connections are, I'll take that off. Where the connections are, turned out okay. Some of these, in like the chest area here, and then some of these spots, the leg too. I went in with epoxy sculpt and filled those in. I just didn't like, it had like a texture underneath. I don't know if you could see it in the previous video, but I didn't like that showing through. I just wanted it matching the rest of it. So I filled those in. 3D printed, I modeled and 3D printed this head. The teeth did not turn out good on this first print, but this one was really just for sizing. But I tried to leave an outline for the eyes so it'll be easier to paint. So I added the textures from the movie. I think I'm just gonna fill in this whole mouth and have the teeth coming through, similar to like this Venom head or the movie Venom head, where the teeth could just kind of fill in the whole mouth so you can't see behind it. I work on sizing too, a little small here. I mean, it fits on there, and I mean, it's close enough to the movie. I'll probably put this for sale. I'll let you know at the end of the video. But so let me resize that head, prime this guy one more time to fill in all that epoxy sculpt, and then I'll show you an update. I might go ahead and paint it red if it looks good. So here's my first attempt at painting and washing this figure. I just painted it red. I used a mixture of like this Vallejo scarlet red, and then I put a couple of drops of this darker red, but really you probably use any darker red. The Vallejo red just pops more orange. Here's the cheap acrylic paint I'm using for the wash. It was like $5 for that whole thing. I just mix it with mostly water and a little bit of that paint, and I start just brushing it on. I cover the whole figure with this, and you can do multiple coats if you want. I would just let this paint sit on there for a minute or two and then take a paper towel and wash it away. So here's what you can see it afterwards. You can do more coats, you can do thicker paint, more paint, whatever you want to do. Just mess around with it until you get a result you like. This is the first time I did this. So later on, I come back and I repaint it red and try again, because I think I put a clear coat on before I washed it, and that did not let the wash set very well. As you can see here, it's kind of splotchy, and it didn't really set in the recesses like I wanted. Okay, so I haven't worked on this Carnage since October, and it's January now, so it's been a little bit. But I decided to repaint it. I didn't really like the way it looked, and I thought I could do better now. But since I'm repainting it, I went ahead and dremeled out these shoulder parts, and down here, you can see it's kind of messy, but you won't be able to see that when I put it all back together. Just to try to keep the shoulders from rubbing, because when they were plugged in, this top part of the shoulder would rub real bad, and this bottom part. I'm hoping that gives it a little bit more room to move around when I have it in there. I also dremeled down the ankles on this calf right here, because it kind of came out a little bit to a ledge, and I wanted it to be more smooth, so when the ankle articulated, hopefully it doesn't rub the paint that bad. And then the torso, it was chipping. I don't have the torso, but I sanded the torso on the front a little bit and then sanded this down so that hopefully whenever I arch it forward, it doesn't rub that as bad as it was. When I get back together, I'll show all the places where it's rubbing. But I'm just gonna paint him red and then do a black wash. And then I'll come through and dry brush a lighter red over top. And hopefully that gets the color I'm looking for. Here's Carnage after I just painted him red and then took some cheap acrylic paint mixed with water and just gave him a wash of black. You can see that turned the paint super dark. So what I'm gonna try to do now is just make him some lighter red paint and just dry brush it over the top just to try to bring back some of that color, because it's really washed out now. It's just mostly dark red. So I'm just gonna dry brush him red. All the points that I sanded are doing pretty good. This shoulder is rubbing a lot, so I'm gonna have to look and see how I can fix that. This one is not though. This one's pretty good. And then the knees are good. They're staying red, which is fine. This ankle is rubbing a bit. And the waist, I dremeled that out, sanded it down, and then I painted it red and put a thin coat of super glue on it, and that's kept it from rubbing. So now it just stays red, so that's good. So we're pretty good. I'm just gonna try dry brush, and hopefully that brings back some of the red. Here's where we're sitting at currently. Dry brushed the red all over. You see it left a lot of that black left over. Really in the movie, he's all red and he has like black veins, but I didn't really think I could accomplish that with this body. There's just so much gaps and stuff that I would have to fill in to get it to look smooth, or I put the veins in. So I think this is a better way to go and way easier. I painted this head up. I just painted it red and then went over with the black around the eyes and the mouth like it is in the movie. And then I painted the teeth like a yellowish color, and then went through with a wash with like a brown, or that yellow with a little bit more brown in it. And I think that really added some depth to it. Eyes just painted white. The black, I just went real slow and just kind of dry brushed it on there. So that way it looks like it kind of blends into the red. So the last part to this is I'm going to coat it all with like a glossy clear coat. The only part that's kind of bugging me currently about it is the head sits so low. So I'm thinking about moving that head up a bit just to give him more room to move. I think it'll look better that high up. So to do that, I'm probably just gonna do, if you watch my Batman video, you'll see where I talk about extending these pegs out. I think I'm just gonna pull that peg, cut it in half and add a nail. And that way I can just glue it to the height I want so that the head will sit a little bit higher. I'll give it more articulation. This peg is really not in there very deep, and so it gets movement, but not very much. I extended that peg up with the nail, but also I dremeled out. You can kind of see it in there. I just took my Dremel that was about the same size as the bottom of this peg and just put it down in there. So that way I can get it back fully. And that allows the head to have a lot more movement. I don't know, I might seed this head a little bit further down, but I like that it can look straight up and straight now. I mean, I like it there. It might need to be a little bit lower. I don't know, I'll look at that. So the head is mounted now. I feel like if I thought this out a little bit better, I would have shortened the neck a bit, but I feel like I hit a happy medium here. So he's all glossy, as you can tell. I'll put about 2 gloss coats, just basic airbrush gloss. And he's a little bit too shiny, but I'd prefer that over too matte. So I'm okay with it. He can look pretty far up, and then he can bury his chin. Or not quite. I've lowered this a few times. I try to figure out the perfect height for it. And I think this is good enough to still allow articulation there. Because the original figure, if you have it, you can tell you don't really have very much articulation in the neck. So this gives me something to work with. But I mean, he can, if you want him coming at you, works pretty good. Everything where the paint has set is pretty good. The shoulders are rubbing a little bit, but since I dremeled them down, if you push and then pull up, you don't get any rub there. So like the same with this one, if you push and pull up. This one though is a little bit harder to get clean. Angles are good. They're kind of, I should have sanded them a little bit better, but they don't really rub. And then elbows are pretty good. And then this waist piece, of course, worked out pretty good. I should start doing that for everything. The only reason I did it here is because I was giving it a wash anyways, so if the super glue made anything a little bit white, the wash would cover it. So I wasn't really that worried about that part. These thighs, though, are kind of annoying. They still rub a bit. I mean, it's not really taking any of the paint off, but I'm worried in the future it might. The last thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add some clear resin to the eyes. They're already glossy, but that'll make them really pop. So let me do that and he'll be all done. That UV resin really, it made the eyes more glossy, but not overall like way more glossy than the rest of the body, if that makes sense. So you can probably skip that step if you wanted to. I just kind of like it because it adds like a film over, so it really covers up those brush marks and everything so that it looks more smooth. Overall, I think it turned out pretty good. I really just hit a slump on this where I let it set for like 3 months without doing anything with it, and I should have just finished it then because this was way easier than I initially thought. It's just that first coat of red with the wash did not set very well, and that kind of made me put it away for a little bit. I think the problem I ran into was I painted it red, put the clear coat on, then gave it a wash, and the wash did not want to stick to the body after that clear coat. So if you were doing this, I would just paint it, wash it, then clear coat, dry brush, then gloss coat. And I think you would come up with a pretty close result to this. This overall was a pretty easy project. Only things that I had to get that didn't come with the original figure was the feet, and then I 3D printed the head. But I mean, if you went on AliExpress and bought the knockoff Diamond Select Carnage, you'd probably get good feet, good head, and better hands. So that's another option if you're wanting to make this guy. I didn't really go over that either. I just put hot glue down in there and pushed it down to where I wanted it. And then I went back and dremeled a little bit just till I got it on the neck where I wanted it. So bring in the Venom. And these guys look pretty good together. The Hot Toys version of the Venom and Carnage, Venom comes up to about his shoulder. So I think this matches up pretty well. And then here's Spider-Man, the Marvel Legends upgrade suit, or the one from No Way Home. And he is way smaller than this Carnage, but I mean, that works. So let me run through some pictures. I hope you guys got a lot from this video. I'm sorry it took so long. I just kind of got a little sidetracked with other stuff, and then just got tired of messing with this guy for a little bit, but I came back and finished it at least. If you have any questions, let me know down in the comments. I'd be happy to help. Please like, share, subscribe, whatever you want to do. And thanks for watching.